welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad you're joining us again today. Today, we're going to pick up for another interview with Stephen Cherniske and Dr. Natalie Kather. Where we left off last was about the relationship of meat eating to a plant-based diet and why that is actually really healthy. So we're going to go from that into looking at different ways of stimulating metabolism, since that's the basis of health, well-being, and fitness as well. So on that note, thank you for coming back to A Better World. Pleasure to have you both.
Yes, thank you, Mitchell. The issue regarding eating meat is fraught with emotion. So we have to understand that you want to get to the facts. And so, in discussions that we have, and Dean Ornish is a friend of mine, all right, who promotes the vegetarian diet. We have other friends who promote the vegan diet. And so, unfortunately, oftentimes when they're arguing for the vegan approach, they use comparisons to meat eaters versus vegans. That is a trap. Because you're not talking about people, you're talking about vegans who are naturally health conscious individuals who have a healthy lifestyle, who are active, who are not obese, and then you're comparing them to the average meat eater who's sitting on the couch, whose cholesterol is 400, and who's got a horrible lifestyle. The comparison that you need to look for is a comparison of a conscious omnivore, Natalie
Apples
and
to
myself,
apples, so to speak.
conscious
No pun
omnivores,
intended.
Yeah.
and compare our stats to a vegan, and you'll find out that the conscious omnivore does have a tremendous advantage. And the advantage comes from compounds that we derive from a moderate intake of meat. What kind of meat? Meat that's raised in a lot and fed antibiotics and hormones? No. In chapter 6, we talk about the kind of meats that we recommend, and they are the game meats that you can obtain. And of course, we support the use of sustainable.
Sure, tight or
Oh,
yeah. Metabolic makeover. It's
yes.
all about
There we
it.
go.
Yeah.
And so we definitely want to emphasize that we support the use of sustainable animal husbandry. And at the same time, we want to talk about eggs that are, obtained from healthy free-range chickens. And those eggs are extremely valuable. Now you're getting compounds here, because remember, the whole focus is about variety and the whole a highly varied natural foods diet. So not only a variety of plants and fruits, but a variety of different proteins. So we eat a lot of nuts and seeds. We eat a lot of beans. But at the same time, we do eat game. At the same time, we do eat eggs. At the same time, we do eat some dairy. But again, all of these are carefully selected from naturally sustainable sources. So that's the difference here. I had an opportunity to spend some time in Italy, looking at the Mediterranean advantage. Where did the Mediterranean advantage come from? It came from a number of things. There were some key features of the Mediterranean diet, and obviously including garlic and tomatoes and olive oil and activity and a whole lot of fish. Right. And I was there on the island of Stromboli, and I was interviewing people, and I didn't find a single person in Stromboli that was a vegan. But I found people who had a natural foods diet, who mostly derived from the things in their town, right?
Diversity again. He's
Exactly.
back to that idea, diversity.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Mediterranean diet is again all the stats that have been gathered on the cardiovascular benefits and the longevity benefits of a
Olive oil.
exactly. So, and again, the whole oil issue is is critically important. If you look at the ratio of omega-3 and omega-6 fats, that is a critical issue. And the easiest way to get into balance with omega-6 and omega-3 is to reduce your intake of highly refined foods that are loaded with omega-6 fats, and to use a fish oil or a fish source for your omega-3 fats that will enable you to have the integrity of your cell membranes. We could go into that whole thing and for the
Yeah.
next 2 hours, but it's not that easy to balance that omega-3 and omega-6 ratio if you're a vegan. It's not easy. It's possible, but it's not easy. Whereas as an omnivore, it's really easy.
And we want to have meat in our diet because it's an important source of B12, which is important for mental clarity. We also appreciate that it has collagen in it, and collagen is the main protein that holds us together. It's the reason why, I don't pull apart when I tug on my finger. It keeps my joints intact. So when I'm
Yes.
working out,
Yes.
I don't dislocate my shoulder. It helps me build muscle. We think
It helps
about
keep your beauty intact, Natalie. Be honest. No, I
I mean,
appreciate your
there's a
point.
whole
Yeah.
raft of compounds. Choline from eggs, for example, the best source of choline on the planet. So
brain health.
we could go on and on. The issue then is
Sure.
again, I'm going to emphasize the issue is variety, the issue is purity, the issue is conscious omnivore, not the kind of omnivore where it goes to, one day Wendy's and the next day McDonald's and the next day Burger King.
That's not a highly varied
That's not the
diet.
variety we're talking about.
I appreciate that. And to wind this up, I really do want to just mention what you did already, the historical antecedent that you never found a tribe that was vegan, that it just didn't happen in nature, uh, in our original tribal indigenous lives. It wasn't that, but it was a balance between many diverse sources of
Yeah,
all types of food. And if you want to think about it, which I often do, I really do, of survival of and biology and that interface, you know, we eat what is available. If we didn't have all the technologies we have today and all of the massive food sources, a lot of which aren't very good food at all, but if you think about us just back then, it makes sense that we ate what we could get our hands on, and we went, as we know, from feast to famine. And
yeah,
so, if you had an animal in front of you, and that was the only thing you were going to have for the next month, guess what?
yeah,
You're going to eat it,
yeah,
right?
for sure.
All right. Well, thank you. I really appreciate the intelligence you brought to the subject, and I know we can expand upon it, and we'll do that perhaps another time. But
Right.
for the moment, if you would, as we discussed, maybe focus in on these metabolic modifiers and the importance of metabolism in overall health and having to do with weight loss and proper, blood sugar levels and the like. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So metabolic modifiers are naturally occurring substances that help the body do a better job at creating energy. And um, you, even exercise can be an important form of energy. 60% of our muscles are above our waist, and 70% of our energy comes from our muscles. So we need to have good muscle health, good exercise routine. But what if we've been sitting on the couch for a while and now we have sad muscles? And when we go to work out, they don't feel very good. Well, we can supplement our body with metabolic modifiers. DHEA, king of the metabolic modifiers, resveratrol, the queen of the metabolic modifiers. Resveratrol even tells white fat to turn into brown fat. And what that means is it makes more mitochondria in that fat to do a better job at burning fat to create real
Burning the
energy.
white fat.
Yep.
Yeah. One
Yep.
of my favorites is alpha
Nice.
ketoglutarate, as Natalie mentioned earlier. And alpha ketoglutarate is a natural molecule. It's produced by the body. It's the rate limiting step in the Krebs cycle that produces energy. And I was sitting in a classroom in the mid 70s, and the professor says that alpha ketoglutarate is rate limiting. And so I said, "Oh, what foods are high in alpha ketoglutarate?" And he goes, "Well, there's no food that provides that molecule. Your body makes it." So I said, "Well, am I always going to make as much as I'm making now, right? Because I'm keenly interested in this because I looked
Sure.
at my parents and they had less energy than me. I looked at my grandparents, they had even less energy than me. So I understood the whole energetic component of growing old." And the professor just laughed and he goes, "No, but because by the time you're my age, you'll be producing very little alpha ketoglutarate, and thus you will look like me." And I was like,
Help.
so it was no I wasn't have to be a genius to write down in my notebook, find alpha ketoglutarate. And I was just fortunate that a colleague of mine in Milan was able to do that back in the early 1980s. And so when it came time to helping out our U.S. Olympic team in 1983 and 84, I was able to go to Milan and come back with a kilo of pure alpha ketoglutarate, which made a real difference in the Olympics that
Oh,
year.
and I
Of
hope
course,
you
Carl
brought
Lewis
back
had a
some
lot to do
olive
with
oil
it
too.
Some olive. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, from Milan.
So the idea of a metabolic modifier is a compound that can simply and rapidly improve your body's production of energy. Alpha ketoglutarate is one. Coenzyme Q10 is another one. D-ribose, very, very easy to obtain, and it even tastes good. You can put a scoop of D-ribose in your protein shake in the morning. And
I
we,
do.
yes,
Smart.
and we even developed a product called KYSO, which stands for knock
Not.
your socks off.
Mhm.
Knock your socks off. KYSO.
Uh-huh.
And the nice thing about Kaiso is that it's a combination of simple ingredients: citrulline, L-citrulline, citrulline malate.
Eh,
If you look at uh, the um,
Blood flow.
the blood, the ability of the Kaiso to dilate your blood vessels is what I'm trying to
Mm.
say.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Uh-huh.
the energy that you experience is pretty direct. So again,
Oh, yes. One of those. Right. Sure,
yeah, one
sure.
of these. Everyone ought to have one of these. It tells you your oxygen level and your heart rate, and we're able to show that our product called Kaiso will increase your oxygen reliably and decrease your heart rate in about 20 minutes after you consume it. So these are things that we want to put into people's hands to make exercise easier and more enjoyable. It's like Natalie
Mhm.
said, exercise is key. And without exercise, the best diet in the world will not succeed. So, I mean, Natalie just became a Zumba instructor
Yeah.
at the age of
Wow.
54. Yeah, she's the super girl now. Going to the gym 7, 8 times a week
Okay.
to lead her Zumba group
That is
because it's a
fun.
fun way to exercise. Natalie's whole point is how are you going to get people off the couch? How are you going to engage them in a way that where they can start to feel that feeling of
Energy.
invigoration from exercise? You can't beat them over the head. You can't say, "You're a lazy bum, get off the couch." You can't do that. It's never going to work. What you have to do is say, "Hey, take these substances, these metabolic modifiers, feel the energy that you experience when you do that, and then come with me into the gym and we'll dance and we'll have fun. And if you want to go over there and work out on those machines, that's even better." But a combination of strength training and aerobics is really the cat's bananas.
Yeah.
That's cat's bananas. Just turn on that music. And
Yeah.
then, the body just moves. You
Yes.
don't even have to
Her
invite
body does.
your body. I'm sure yours does too.
My
But
body sort of moves. Her body moves rhythmically.
she's got rhythm. No, these points are so important. And it, again, go back to that wonderful word holism, which means that nothing exists in its own little compartment. Everything is one integrated whole. And so, another important point, which you make in the book as well, you don't emphasize it, but because I'm not just an acupuncturist and stress management consultant, but also a holistically oriented psychotherapist, I think this way, and that is, what is the role of the mind in the activity, in the eating, as well as in the moving? And so, just even though I don't really like working on the machines, I do it anyway because I know it's good, and I prefer music and dance and things like Tai Chi and other things like that and Qigong. But that aside, and sports, um, putting attention into the movement of a muscle and the actual physical distress, pain that you're feeling at that moment because you're really working the muscle actually adds to the completion of the movement and the internal benefit from exercising the muscle to exhaustion. Do you have a comment?
Well, yeah, you just hit the nail on a he hit the head on a very important nail. The idea that movement is critical to metabolism can be summarized in what's called the glycogen cycle.
Mhm.
The glycogen is a molecule that your body produces from the starches and sugars that you eat. And so because we live in this miraculous body, when we eat any kind of starches and sugars in excess of our metabolic need, in other words, we're all going to eat some starches and sugars, right? Even the hunters and gatherers that I was followed around New Guinea were consuming some starches and tubers and roots. So when you
Even
consume
vegetables. So,
any kind of starch or sugar in excess of your metabolic need, then the body goes, "Ooh, this is such a great form of energy. I got to store it somehow." So it literally wraps, 200,000 molecules of glucose can make up one single molecule of glycogen. Can you imagine? Layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, and it stores these in the muscle, stores these in the liver for later use. So the whole idea of a metabolically efficient body means that you have to then deplete that glycogen in order to establish this ability to always access energy. If you are a couch potato and you don't move, that whole system, the glycogen depletion and repletion system, shuts down. So then not only do you not want to get off the couch, you can't. Because when you do, you feel like you've been hit by a bus. So this is where exercise comes in so critical. We spend a lot of time talking about glycogen. We have
I
a,
know.
a drawing of a glycogen molecule. We want people to understand how miraculous that is and how important it is to maintain metabolic fitness.
And I'd like to build on the
Beautiful.
concept of mitochondrial biogenesis.
Ooh, I
Um,
love when you talk that way.
thank
Wow. Yeah, all
um,
right, Billy. Bring
so
it on, Natalie.
the mitochondria are the little powerhouses in our cells where energy is really made. And Stephen did a study years ago where he biopsied muscle cells from different groups of people. And the office workers, the number of mitochondria in their thigh muscle cells was 30. And the athletes out on the track, there's where they had 100 mitochondria per muscle cell. And the elite athletes, they have about 300 mitochondria per muscle cell. And so when we push ourselves, when we're like, I can do it, and you got to grunt a little,
Yes.
yeah, yes. That is when mitochondrial biogenesis kicks in. And yes, resveratrol helps with that. But that part of exercise is just so important. When people say, oh, how does that person have so much energy? Well, we look at elite athletes, and one could easily say they have 100 times the energy of a sedentary office worker. I mean,
That's
just
not that's not a that is an absolute biological truth. So can
Yes.
you imagine?
That's not an exaggeration. It's
Exactly.
literal. Yeah.
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 Baby, that's
That's
wonderful.
so
Yeah.
interesting. And I mean, there's a fundamental principle underneath what you're both saying, which is that energy begets energy.
Yep.
And
Yes.
if you build on that, you're going to keep getting toward that 100 times that
Yeah.
metabolic feature you're talking about.
And the metabolic modifiers just make that whole process easier from the beginning to ongoing. It's a journey, it's a path, just getting better and better.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So if somebody wants to go from being a couch potato, so to speak, into a stellar athlete, no, they want to just get going. They just want to get into movement and start taking care of their body. What's interesting is that in the world, even though processed foods and the like are reaching an incredible level of popularity, which is makes us sick, even just contemplating it. Also, there's a counter movement of people who are really becoming more and more dedicated to their own health and well-being on every single level, and a world at peace, and not wanting to put up with what people are seeing as a corporate takeover, if you don't mind my putting it, over every single domain of our lives, from food to seeds to the way governments behave, and not usually helping people, but in just promulgating and perpetuating war. not to get overly political, but looking again holistically, we see that this is a time of self-empowerment. I'll put it that way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as such, what you're doing with your writing, with your websites and the like is really empowering people to take charge of their own lives. So from that point of view, what would you say to that couch potato who wants to go from a potato to a string bean?
Well, I think to start, the metabolic modifiers can help. You have to have some hope that you're going to experience greater energy. And so, as Natalie mentioned, no one who's tired is tired because of a caffeine deficiency. So, oftentimes, the first thing the first bridge you have to cross is why is this person depending on 4 cups of coffee, 3 Red Bulls, and a and a combination of Red Bull and coffee just to get through the day.
And to tell them to just stop that
Right.
without metabolic modifiers present
It's not
is mean.
right, is mean. So
Yeah,
in other words, you
yeah.
don't want the person to crash and burn.
Nice point, Natalie.
So you wean them off their stimulants, and
Mhm.
at the same time you wean them onto true metabolic modifiers. Just we had a woman come up to us just last night who said, "I just love your Kaiso. I just love it. Changed my life." This woman was in a gym. She was having trouble. She was with a trainer, and the trainer was trying to get her to push a few more reps, a few more reps. She couldn't do it. She was feeling bad about herself. She started using the Kaiso. All of a sudden, she goes to her trainer. She goes, "Bring it! I can do anything. I can do anything today." There's something as simple as that. A combination of beta alanine, citrulline malate, and inositol hexaphosphate. That combination in a product called Kaiso can make a world of difference. Something as simple as that. We also have something called that we like a lot that we have people using. It's Exaltea. X and then our company name Altea. Exaltea is a easy to use. A spoonful of Exaltea and a little bit of hot water. The aroma of all the berry concentrates. One spoonful of Exaltea will give you the polyphenols of a bowl of berries. So think about that. We've concentrated these polyphenols so much that one spoonful is all you need to get going in your day. And it's not that you don't ever have a cup of coffee, but you use the Exaltea first. And then if you still need a little bit of stimulation, go ahead, have a cup of coffee, but don't have five, right? And so it's all about giving people the tools they need to get to where they want to go. And it's very much of a step-by-step issue. But Natalie and I work with a lot of gyms. We work with a lot of athletes, and a lot of people who, like you say, want to get off the couch, but didn't have the tools. And that's why we think our work is so valuable, is to give people those tools, help them to achieve their goals, whether it's weight loss or whether it's becoming a world-class athlete. We've got one fellow who is listen to this, an 8-time world record holder in freestyle wrestling. He's 62 years old now, and he's going for his 8th world title. That's what's
Oh,
possible, right?
yeah,
But you have to take it step by step.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. On YouTube, I used to show what was my 93-year-old father, um, these marathon runners who were in their late 90s and early hundreds.
Yeah,
And they're wearing their little shorts and they're out there ready to run. And I said, Dad, that can be you. Okay.
yeah,
I said, yeah,
yeah,
Mitch, I love it.
yeah, yeah,
But that is true. It's so funny. We have the human spectrum from one end to the other, you two, is so vast.
yeah,
We have people who act like children and are as vital and anything, everything in their 90s, and now we have more centenarians than ever before.
for sure.
We're
Yeah,
living in a rather polluted, contaminated, food processed world. But that does suggest the other aspect of human nature is our ability to adapt. It's better to adapt to healthy things, God knows, but we have this extraordinary ability to even deal with a lot of these exigencies we're faced with today. You
yeah.
know, Comments?
Well, we want to thank you for your work because doing interviews like this and having the presence that you have in multiple media outlets is really important, that we all get together and that we proliferate accurate information. Because there's, when Natalie and I started the Heatlhy Skeptics, there were handfuls of fake health sites on the internet, and we would identify those fake health sites and tell our members to stay away from those. Now there are, listen to this, hundreds of fake health sites on the internet. So these are, and they're, most of them are coming from Asia. Singapore is like this Webaloney mill. I call it Webaloney, the stuff that's out
like
there
that
where they're
word.
just literally making stuff up and then filling the blogosphere with utter nonsense. So to find your way through that swamp of confusion is not easy. So thank you for having this blog. Thank you for having this podcast that enables us to get the word out to more people.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's my honor and my pleasure to meet people like you and who have been dedicated. That's the other fun thing. You two have been dedicated for your lives to the promulgation of healthy education and to get people off that couch and into action and with proper guidance. And the whole thing that you have of the healthy skeptic is dealing with that head on.
Yeah.
Because as you said before, there is a plethora of web, what do you call it?
Webaloney.
Webaloney. There really is, and it's hard to decipher. And there are just many, even legitimate points of view that are hard to decipher because people cherry pick data,
Yeah.
and you have to be aware. And people have their own biases for any number of reasons. So one of the roles you're playing, both of you, is to help sort through that large body of material that ordinary people can't do, even very smart people, or don't have the time. So you're playing a very important role. Now, how can people get in touch with you, your websites? Why don't you share that with our audience? Because you also have this whole product line I'm getting increasingly interested in. And, the Kaiso, I mean, bring it on. I love that. Why don't you share that with our audience?
Our main website is thehealthyskeptics.com. TheHealthySkeptics.com. And that's where we have all of our products, including our CBD products. And yeah, and people can pay with electronic check on that system, and they can have a membership. And then we have another site which doesn't have a membership, but people can pay with a credit card. And it's also chock full of great information. And in 2018, we had to make a decision about our CBD part of our business because a lot of changes were happening with banks, despite the fact that the government said, yeah, you can sell CBD. So we thought about, well, what opportunity do we have here to reinvent ourselves? And so we wanted to bring the message to people about thinking about their journey in the long term. And in the year 2048, my beloved is going to be 100 years old. So Steve, this is Stephen's My 2048. Those products are about, being healthy and having longevity with a health span, with
Yes.
quality of life. And so My 2048 has our non-CBD products on it. And you can find our dog product on both sites, called Renuvite. People really have appreciated that they see their dog get better in a matter of a few days, the better mobility, better comfort, even maybe better cognition and mood. And there is no placebo with dogs. So they're like, something's going on. What have you got for me? Yeah.
In fact, a lot of our members started.
Chew on that.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. A lot of our members started with our product for dogs with Renuvite. Saw such a remarkable change in such a short period of time. We're talking about days,
Oh,
and then said, my gosh, and I can eat this myself? Well, it's not the same
Yeah,
product, but
right,
here,
right.
let us show you
Well, we
what
make
else
one for
what else we
people
have.
too. We make
Uh-huh.
one for people too. Don't
Yeah.
you don't have to become a dog.
Right.
No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. You mentioned placebo, Natalie, for with dogs. In acupuncture, a lot of the studies have been done on animals
Yeah.
because of that, because
Right.
there's no mental
Right.
intercession, if you will. And
Right.
so we can just see more objectively what
Yeah.
the effects are of different kinds of treatments, you know.
We
So
love our acupuncturist. She's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, well, it's part of the holistic frame we keep talking about here. So, well, listen, it's been such a pleasure to have you both on, and I'd like to do it again, you know, but let's get this out onto the airwaves, and we will be in dialogue. So,
Okay.
thank you again, both of you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Thank
This
you.
was a delight to be with you and talk with you. So thank you.
So glad. And let's also thank Russ Spear for being a dear friend of both
Yes.
of ours
Yeah.
Yes.
and who introduced us.
And
And
a planetary angel. Yes.
truly, truly the case, right? And so thank you, Russ. And thanks again, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for a Better World. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. My God, I have a lot to digest. And so I hope you do too. Thanks for joining, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.